My upgrades are Invincible, Chapter 49, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. Tamamo only had some hand-to-hand, and knife combat experience from the Amazon that was fused into her. Other than that, all her previous memories were from people that lived civilian lives before their village or town was overran by roving tribes of surface monsters. I need to get you into combat then, especially with a Falna. I muttered as I nodded, all the while Tina came out of the kitchen with a quickly put-together platter of finger sandwiches of various toppings. And while I ate a sandwich, I told Tina. While I figure out what weapon Tamamo uses. I paused and relished a small sandwich before continuing. When you are finished eating, Tina, I want you to head into town and find two things, one being more scrap grimoire books or even the remains of broken magic swords. Secondly, I want you to find trees that had split in half due to lightning or just naturally split apart into two separate tree trunks. I explained, making Tina raise an eyebrow. And the short stack nodded calmly as she said simply. Fine, anything else you want me to get? I held a hand to my face in thought as I considered my options before shaking my head, as in reality. I had plenty of scrap materials remaining from our trip into the Ororio dump, so I had the materials to do what I planned to do, in order to secure my strip of the beach. So I told Tina. Nah. I should be fine. If you want to buy something for me to fuse or whatever, you are welcome to. I finished. Tina gave a quick look at Tamamo before shrugging and grabbing a couple of finger sandwiches as she announced. Then I will be going, as it's likely that once Hera's goons finish combing through the surrounding forests and Ororio itself, they will probably give Melon a quick check through with how thorough they are typically. But before Tina left, she said strongly. Jake, we don't know the players here in Melon yet, so let's keep our heads down, please. She finished with something akin to teasing in her tone, making me snort in amusement as she left the beach house. After watching me finish my finger sandwiches, I held out a minotaur monster stone in front of Tamamo and asked with some curiosity. Can you eat this? And without a blink, Tamamo nodded gently, taking the fist-sized crystal from my hand, and with a loud crunching noise she bit through it like it was a brittle hard candy, with her audibly chewing the monster stone before swallowing it down. Tamamo looked at the monster stone and grimaced as a hand went to her stomach, but thankfully before I could react she muttered. Stone is too strong. I am already full, Jake. So she can eat and digest them. But the stronger the monster/stronger essence in the magic stone, the more filling it is for her. I thought in realization before saying supportively. Good, I will make sure you won't be hungry. Honestly, I am a bit jealous you can just eat these to get stronger. I said with a bit of wistfulness in my tone as Tamamo's head tilted to the side cutely as she watched me stand up and stretch. Anyway, let's do a couple of tests, I said, helping Tamamo stand up on her feet, and I led her to the thick marble slab top table in the middle of the meeting room that was probably for the Palace Familia to come together in meetings. Alright, let's test your general strength in an arm wrestling competition. Don't try to slam my hands down, and instead we will just see if you can resist the push of my own hands, I said as a thought hit my mind. What if she is already comically stronger than I? I don't want my hands pulped into the damn table. I thought wryly as Tamamo nodded quickly and sat across from me, and although a blush crossed her cheeks briefly as our hands came together, she put on a more serious expression as I slowly began to push against her hand. Are you pushing yet? Tamamo asked, and I felt my masculinity dying on the inside, as even as I used half of Falnaback's strength, her face was completely serious and her arm didn't have a hint of flexing in it. And then I realized the truth of things. I fused a dozen women into Tamamo, and assuming the fusion granted them all that strength, to say nothing of the lizard man, I also fused into her along with the supernatural smithing materials. Her base body was stronger than a level 2 and probably in the midst of level 3. Haha. Yes, you did great, Tamamo, good job. I said with a wry smile before I shook my head and said. So what kind of weapon do you want to use in battle? I asked Tamamo, who was currently refusing to let go of my hand, and pouted when I gave her a look to let go so I could flex my stinging hand that couldn't make her own budge. Gauntlets or large serrated daggers. That's what the Amazon you fused into me used before her soul broke down. She spoke with a bit of emptiness entering her eyes, and I snapped my fingers in front of her face to bring her back to reality. I stood up and said firmly. Alright, here, you are now a spear wielder. Abandon those memories that cause you pain and embrace your new life. Now come on, we got work to do on the beach. I said as I handed her the shortened sword spear I made in honor of the nameless king of Dark Souls 3. Sadly, it didn't have the true weapon's lightning abilities, but lightning manipulation stuff was stupidly expensive. Tamamo, now armed with a spear, followed me out into the back of the property, and I took in the long stretch of beach that I was supposed to be in charge of, and I had a number of thoughts to defend it. Time to remake the beaches of Normandy. I thought with some amusement as I first fused 4 plates of monster stones into a dozen trash-broken swords and a charm of detection that would heat up and hiss supposedly around monster stones. The item in theory was sound. Except for the fact that it would boil over and explode like a firework on your body if you entered the dungeon, and the surface monsters of Kakai were naturally bred and thus didn't have a monster stone fueling their bodies, so the charm couldn't sense them. With a quick fusion of all the items, I had my solution for literal monsters washing up on my damned backyard. Monster refining array. Placing the tags in the 4 cardinal directions, all monsters who wander into its radius will be sliced, slashed, and penetrated by the 25 swords making up the array of sword formations. During off times, the swords will dissect the monsters to retrieve dead monsters' stones to help fuel the array. Costs 10, floor 10 quality and above monster stones to run per hour. The cost will go up should the array be activated to kill monsters. The array was pretty good, although I would probably need to replace the swords used in the array as they weren't really rated for killing floor 20 plus monsters, but as I was placing down the array I checked the flavor text out of some morbid amusement. And I wasn't disappointed at all. Warning, should a furry in a convincing enough suit run through the array cannot be held liable for someone's terrible fetishes leading to that person's death. Jake, why do you look like you want to drown yourself? Tamamo asked with some concern as I looked out into the massive lake of melon in front of myself, and I took a breath and answered deeply. People I know will get killed by this array. I finished making Tamamo's head tilt to the side in confusion before I shook my head and continued fortifying the actual house with an array that came with a few keys, so should anyone enter without a key they would be facing a barrage of flying knives trying to shoot through themselves. But thankfully after I finished setting up a good deal of protection, Tamamo called out that Tina was coming down the road driving the carriage pulled by my infant dragon with the supplies I asked for. Welp, let's see if I can make a vanishing cabinet from Harry Potter. I thought with a wide smile, seeing the infant dragon panting as it pulled a large wagon bed that had 3 different dual tree trunks that merged together into a base. But as I came closer I blinked as I saw that Tina had also thrown in a bunch of other living supplies into the back of the wagon, with Tina saying proudly, "I got us some stuff so you can fuse our bed to be an enchanted bed."